Hi. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we call sampling techniques. Okay? So when we say sampling, all right, what we mean is in statistics, there's a population, okay, and the population is the whole group that we want to talk about. Okay? So for example, if we want to talk about what the favorite food is of the students at Castlebrook, the population is all of the students at Castlebrook. Okay? However, it's very difficult to ask the population a question, right? Because it's a lot of people. So what we have is in the population, we have something called a sample, all right? And the sample is the part we use to answer the questions, all right? So what I might do is I might want to know what the favorite food is of the people at Castlebrook. So what I do is I use my classes as a sample, right? So I would just ask my classes, right, what their favorite food is, and I might be able to conclude that this is the favorite food of all the people at Castlebrook. All right, so we have a population and we have a sample in that population. Something else we need to be aware of when we're talking about statistics is bias. Okay, bias is what happens when a sample does not represent the feelings of the entire population. Okay. So maybe in my classes, maybe I have a lot of pizza parties, so all my students really like pizza, right? Then that sample doesn't really reflect the rest of the school because the rest of the school isn't in my class, okay? So that's a bias. A bias is when a sample does not represent the feelings of the entire population. And we want to get rid of bias, okay? So to make sure that our questions and our groups don't have bias, what we have to do is we have to be careful about the sampling technique that we choose, okay? So the first sampling technique that we choose is called a simple random sample, okay? So a simple random sample. So in a simple random sample, everyone has an equal chance to get chosen, right? So at Castlebrook, what that would mean is a simple random sample would be I just walk around the hallways and I randomly pick kids to ask questions. So I'd say, okay, you're in my sample, you're in my sample, you're in my sample, and that's it. That's a simple random sample, okay? Now, a stratified random sample is a little bit more specific. A stratified random sample has subgroups, okay? So sticking with Castlebrook, the subgroups at Castlebrook could be grade 9, grade 10, and grade 11 students, right? So those would be the stratified subgroups. And then in those subgroups, I would pick randomly a number of students to ask questions. Now, the nice thing about stratified random sampling is that it's based on the number of people in the subgroup. So if there's more people in a subgroup, then I have to randomly choose more people from that subgroup. So what that means is if we have a lot of grade 9s and not a lot of grade 10s or 11s, right, then I have to randomly choose a lot of grade 9s, right? So this way, a bigger part of the population is represented, right? So if we have a school that's like 500 grade 9s and 200 grade 10s, and I just do it randomly, then the grade 9s aren't represented properly because I might end up with 5 grade 9s, 5 grade 10s. But there's a lot more grade 9s, so I should have a lot more grade 9s. So a simple stratified random sample lets me account for the missized size of groups in a population, okay? So simple random sample and a stratified random sample. We can also have a voluntary response sample. That's only the people that choose to do the survey, right? So that would be me putting up a sign on my door saying, whoever wants to do a survey, please come see me, right? Well, the problem is that with that, I get a lot of bias because only the people that come by my room are going to see the sign. Only people that are actively engaged in the school are going to come do the survey. A lot of people are just going to be like, whatever, that's fine. So they're not represented. I want to represent everybody. So a voluntary response sample isn't always the greatest, but it's pretty easy, right? Another easy one is a convenience sample. A convenience sample is also not very good for bias, but it's very easy because it's collecting the data that's easy to get, okay? So if I just sent the question to my classes, like I said, right? If I just used only my classes, that will be a convenience sample because it's the students that are the closest to me, so they're the easiest to ask questions. If you're doing a survey and you only send the survey to your friends, that's a convenience sample. Okay? A systemic sample is very complicated to get, but it's very good. A systemic sample means evenly spaced members are chosen for example, every fifth person. So what that means is, for my survey, if I printed out the alphabetical list of all the Castlebrook students, and I said, all right, I'm going to ask every 10th student this question. So I went down the list and I went to student number 10, number 20, number 30, number 40, right? Now I have a systemic sample, right? And that's a very good sample, okay? Because it's random. It's not only the students that I know. They're not volunteering to answer. I'm asking random people questions, all right? So those are the 5 different sample techniques that we need to be aware of, and you need to pick one to do for your project. All right? Okay.